All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions, continuing our Mr. Perfect series. This is going to be part two. This is going to be Mr. Perfect when he arrives in the WWF in 1988 to about 1991. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, man, and he had a great start to his career. AWA champion, multi-time tag team champion, wherever he went. His first run in WWF didn't go as he planned. However, that's fixing the change because now his stock has risen since he's been AWA champion, which Vince probably didn't take too much to that, but he knew he had something, and once he repackaged him, he had the whole effing show.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended to Rob Van Dam. Hennig returned to WWF at WrestleFest on July 31st, 1988, defeating Terry Taylor. No big news there.
Right.
Hennig, however, wrestled his last match under his real name on August 26th of that year in Calgary, defeating DJ Peterson. Because now, starting October 1st on the episode of Superstars, and I know you remember these because I do like it was yesterday, WWF started airing the vignettes
Yeah.
for Mr. Perfect.
Mr. Perfect, yeah. Because I mean, at first they called him, I remember they were saying Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig, I think, or Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, very early on. The rumor is, I don't know if it's true or not, that it was basically a coin toss between gimmicks. Like Terry Taylor could have gotten the Mr. Perfect gimmick, but he ended up getting the Red Rooster gimmick, which ended his career basically.
I'm sorry you lost
So,
the head to tail shot on
I
that
don't know
one,
if
bro.
that's true. It's a
Oh
rumor.
my
But
God.
lucky for Curt Hennig, if that story is true, he got the Mr. Perfect gimmick.
Curt Hennig, the Red Rooster. I don't see it.
No? Yeah,
Oh, he still would have been a Bobby guy, though.
that's true, yeah.
But yeah, no, it wouldn't have worked for him. But I mean, this was awesome because the new character that he was portraying was arrogant, had an arrogant personality, claimed he could accomplish any difficult task. Um, the vignettes that they aired each week also included such things as he hit a half court 3-point shot, or no look basketball shots, bowling a perfect 300, running the table in billiards, which is not hard. I've done it many times. Throwing and catching his own Hail Mary football pass. Calling bullshit on that one, but it was a nice vignette to have in the
No,
80s.
they were awesome though. Those
They
vignettes were
really
awesome.
were. They really were. I loved it. Sinking a long golf putt and hitting home runs and making bullseyes and darts. So, and they had stars of various sports teams also that were included in the vignettes. You had Wade Boggs from the Boston Red Sox.
Who he was friends with.
Yes, because he inducted him into the Hall of Fame, didn't he?
I think so.
I believe so, yeah. Steve Jordan from football, Felton Spencer from the NBA, and Mike Modano from the Minnesota North Stars in hockey at the time, later to become Dallas. Now, on October 4th, the episode of Primetime Wrestling, he wrestled his first match under the name Mr. Perfect, defeating Jim Brunzell. No big competition there.
Jump in, Jim Brunzell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I going to offend him? Oof.
Same.
I don't want to make fun of the Killer Bees.
No, they were on the rated tag team. They were a good tag team.
Yeah, all right. Over the next few weeks, Mr. Perfect would get victories over such superstars as Ken Patera, Scott Casey, Sam Houston, and Coco Beware. Not really saying much, but hey, you got to start somewhere. Now, he made his pay-per-view debut on November 24th, 1988 at the Survivor Series, teaming with Andre the Giant, Ravishing Rick Rude, who I always thought those two should have been a tag team together, called Perfectly Rude.
That would have been great, yeah.
I always did that in any video game I ever had that the two of them were in. I would put the two together. It made sense. They looked good together.
Yeah.
When they were in the ring together.
They were good friends too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Missed opportunity.
Yes. And then rounding out the team, you had Harley Race and Dino Bravo on that team as they faced off against Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ken Patera, Scott Casey, and Tito Santana. Perfect and Bravo were the sole survivors of that team. And Perfect actually, during that match, eliminated Jake Roberts to close out the match. On December 7th of that year in 88, Perfect wrestled on the Saturday night main event number 19, in which he defeated Coco Beware in the main event, which is pretty impressive that you get the main event of Saturday night main event. The episode aired, though, January 7th of 89. They did it in December. Perfect ended the year on a high note, continuing to be victorious against guys like Paul Roma, Coco Beware once again, and Jose Luis Rivera. So he's getting he is the first Goldberg. He's getting his undefeated streak going.
Yeah, but
I
unfortunately.
know, I know, I know. Now, to kick off 1989, on January 15th in 89, Mr. Perfect, participated in his very first Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
He entered at number 4, lasted 27 minutes, 58 seconds, eliminating Axe, who came in at number 1, and then before being eliminated by Hulk Hogan.
It's not won't be the first time that Hogan
Wouldn't be the
was.
first time he eliminated him, yeah, unfortunately. But
Oh, the
luckily in
last time.
'89, Hogan didn't win that Rumble. It was Big John Studd. Now, on April 2nd, 1989, at WrestleMania 5, Mr. Perfect was in his now first WrestleMania match where he went up against the Blue Blazer, a.k.a. Owen Hart.
Owen Hart, yeah.
And a lot of people, they didn't comment. These are people, friends of mine that were coworkers that saw the Owen Hart top 10, who asked me, how come, or even in the Mr. Perfect top 10, how come that match wasn't in there? It's underrated. You should rethink that. And you know what? Maybe it's just possible. I mean, it was an underrated match.
It was a good match. It was. I mean, it could have been better, obviously, if it would have been Owen.
Owen instead of Blue Blazer.
Right.
Because you look at the Blue Blazer and it's just like some Hammerneger that
just doing high flying spots.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a one-off thing that Vince brought in. So kind of takes away from it a little bit. So, however, Perfect does get the victory at WrestleMania. Of course, he's perfect. His undefeated streak continued even into the summertime, picking up victories against Tito Santana, the Red Rooster, once again the Blue Blazer, who he fought at various house shows, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and even Bret the Hitman Hart. But this was pre-Bret the Hitman Hart, not...
Well, it's pre, like, singles.
Exactly, Hitman, tag team guy, yeah. On October 7th, episode of Superstars, Perfect began appearing now with the Genius, a.k.a. Lanny Poffo, Savage's brother, which now they always say that if you love the Superstar or you hate them, they're doing their job. I despised the Genius. I really did. He just got in under your skin that he wanted somebody to whoop his ass.
Yeah.
Which means he did the job very well. Before that, I liked Lanny Poffo. I thought he was underrated. I thought that, unfortunately, his brother cast a huge shadow over him through 85, 86, 87, to where he couldn't be as famous as his brother, unfortunately. Now, Genius, who's an arrogant poetry reciting scholar, you want to kick the crap out of. Shortly after his arrival, now Perfect began to feud with WWF champion Hulk Hogan. I thought this was very interesting at the time because, forget the mid-card title, he went straight for the man himself.
Right. So they were
and
pretty high on him.
Hogan was having difficulties with the two of them. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
They fought on the house show circuit too. Perfect fought him.
On October 31st, 1989, Saturday night's main event, number 24, Genius actually defeated Hulk Hogan in a championship match by countout. Yeah. Which is like, okay, Hogan did business with the Genius. Well, Savage's brother.
I think he beat him did he beat him by countout twice? I don't remember. I mean, Perfect might have beat him by countout too, right?
Perfect beat him by countout at one time too. I think that was on Superstars. Something like that. Yeah. At that point, I was like, okay, is Hogan going to lose the title to one of these guys? Because this is starting to, like, as a Hulkamaniac back then, we all were starting to, like, okay, what's going to happen here? Now, however, it's what Perfect did that night. Besides Genius beating him, it's what Perfect did that stole the show. Perfect came down during the match, hit Hogan with the belt, and stole it. I love this segment. I remember it like it was yesterday.
You thought that was going to lead to a major feud. I mean, I guess because they would do stuff like that on TV for the house show stuff, for the house show feuds. But I mean, it would have been cool to see at a pay-per-view. But
I would have liked to see Hogan Perfect for the title at the Royal Rumble. Even if Perfect didn't win, let's have it out on a major pay-per-view.
He takes the hammer to the belt.
Oh, I loved it. He proceeds, to go to the back while Mean Gene is trying to conduct an interview with him, with the Genius and Mr. Perfect. Perfect is destroying the belt with a hammer, and the Genius is just, running, frolicking around and whatnot. During that, while he's hitting it, Mean Gene actually makes the mistake. He not only calls him Mr. Perfect, but he calls him Curt Hennig.
Oh, still.
Yeah, I know, but we're not referring to him as that. But it was, it was all right. Later on that evening, Perfect, finished the night defeating the Red Rooster. And this event aired. Yeah, well, I wasn't saying much. His highlight of the night was destroying the belt.
Mm-hmm.
The event aired 2 days after Survivor Series, November 25th, 89. So, yeah. Perfect received his first title shot November 22nd, 1989 against Hulk Hogan, and he won by countout. However, no title changed hands, unfortunately. I know. Now, let's backtrack 2 days prior to the Saturday night main event, November 23rd, 89. Perfect competed once again at the Survivor Series, teaming with, once again, Ravishing Rick Rude. I'm telling you, that was a sign.
Damn.
And the Fabulous Russo brothers against Roddy Piper, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and the Bushwhackers. I thought this was kind of a weak Survivor Series considering the momentum Perfect has, and then you've got this type of Survivor Series match that just felt blah to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Rude and Piper's brief feud.
Right.
I guess it's the surrounding cast, for at least for Piper. Perfect was the sole survivor of that one, and he eliminated Butch and Jimmy Snuka in that match. However, they don't really count this until the following year, and I was always curious about this. Perfect received his first loss November 26, 1989, in a match for the Intercontinental Championship against the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, they don't count. Yeah, they don't count that because they don't count the loss until he loses the beefcake, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Because then on December 1st, Perfect loses to Hulk Hogan for the heavyweight title.
Yeah, but it never happened.
Yeah, what happened?
These are like house show stuff. It's like they skip over a lot. They don't count.
Yeah, just like Lance Storm never beat Brock Lesnar on the house show. When he was the Beast. No, he never beat
Goldberg. I think Goldberg lost on the house show.
Yep.
I think Warrior beat Undertaker on a house show, like in a
body bag match.
Yeah.
I love that match. It's on YouTube. You find it. It's a good match.
Right. Well, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I know. It never happened. Perfect and Hogan wrestled on various house shows where he lost to Hogan. However,
of course did.
It doesn't work for him, brother.
No.
However, they did not compete on television until January 15th, 1990, where Perfect received his first opportunity for the championship against Hogan on the MSG network. Perfect won by disqualification. That's the only way he's going to get the victory against Hogan, unfortunately. Now, heading into 1990, because 89 was a great year for him, as we kick off 1990, on January 21st, 1990, Perfect competed once again in the Royal Rumble. He entered at number 30, and then back then, number 30 was never the lucky number.
No.
He only lasted 3.5 minutes. Only elimination was Ravishing Rick Rude, but that was accidental. Unfortunately, Shivani made a big deal about it, commentating. And then, once again, Hulk Hogan eliminated Mr. Perfect and won the Rumble.
Right. And then this was the Rumble that supposedly the rumor was Perfect was going to win.
I would have liked it better if he did.
Yeah.
I mean,
should have. There was no reason for Hogan to win that Rumble because Hogan was the champion. He's fighting a Warrior at WrestleMania. Like, him winning the Rumble doesn't do anything. I thought that I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I thought maybe him and Warrior should just eliminate each other. Have Warrior and Hogan eliminate each other. Then that's
you set up your feud.
Yeah.
Like the year before, Hogan and Savage had a problem. Savage accidentally gets eliminated. Then eventually Hogan gets eliminated. Yeah, exactly. Then Hogan gets eliminated. Somebody else wins the Rumble.
Right.
Same thing happened here.
No,
and Perfect could win the Rumble. However,
Hogan
a heel winning the Rumble.
That's all right.
I mean, Hogan winning the Rumble the next year made sense because then he went on to WrestleMania.
Right.
So you could say that was the first time that a Rumble winner got a shot, even though I didn't care for the match. And we've talked about that already. Back to Perfect. January 27th, 1990, Saturday night's main event, number 25. Perfect and the Genius teamed up to face Hogan and the Warrior. Oh, this was a great match.
Yeah, this was huge, yeah.
It was in a losing effort, but we didn't care about that,
Right.
unfortunately. What overshadowed this match was the Hogan Warrior showdown as they were heading to the main event of WrestleMania 6. So that was unfortunate for Perfect and Genius. They just got caught up in the middle of this. But, it was still a good match. Now, Perfect suffered his first televised loss by pinfall on March 19th, 1990 on an MSG Network special to the Ultimate Warrior. He's just not getting any luck here.
No, but I don't even think they count that one.
They didn't count it. They didn't count anything until Beefcake beats him.
Right. Of all people.
Exactly.
And Perfect is about to win the IC championship. So why make him lose? That makes no sense.
And he's getting his, and part of my expression, he's getting his ass kicked to the top two guys in the company here.
He used to make Warrior look really good too, though. They didn't wrestle that much, but he would the bumps that he would take, similar to Rude.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it should have been Rude and Perfect versus Hogan and Warrior. Imagine that match. That's
I like that one better.
Yeah.
So, and his first nationally televised loss, like we just mentioned, was by pinfall on April 1st, 1990, WrestleMania 6, to all people, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, which I think Perfect should have won that match.
He should have. He's about to win the IC title.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm jumping a couple of months ahead here. Now, when Beefcake won that match, I believe, and I could be wrong because this is 35 years later.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Was Beefcake supposed to beat him for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam?
I think so, yeah.
I believe so. I remember hearing about it.
Yeah.
And then the whole travesty, unfortunately.
The accident.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a shame. But in any event, the feud between Perfect and Hogan ended on April 28th. Thank God at this point. On Saturday Night Main Event, now number 26, where Hogan pinned Perfect and Hogan settled the score. Good for you, Hogan. Following this loss, Perfect ended also his association with the Genius. Hallelujah. Now, after WrestleMania 6, due to Ultimate Warrior winning the WWE Championship because it was title for title, and he didn't lose his, he was stripped of the Intercontinental Championship.
They had the tournament.
Yeah.
The title was vacant. They had the tournament.
Yep, and it was a pretty good tournament.
Oh, it was.
In April, they actually did it in April right away, as soon as WrestleMania was over. Mr. Perfect beat Jimmy Snuka in the first round. Tito Santana beat Akeem. Well, actually, I was saying this was good. This really isn't. Dino Bravo
could have been good if these guys didn't have, because there's DQs in the first round, right? So
always, yeah.
So there's no you were supposed to fight 3 times. Instead, it went. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Dino Bravo and Brutus Beefcake fought to a double countout.
Right, there you go.
So they're out.
They're out.
And Roddy Piper and Rick Martel fought to a double disqualification.
Right. So it's automatic finals. Yeah, so you're going
exactly.
Right,
one and done. Well, 2 and done.
Mm-hmm.
So April 23rd, 1990, Perfect defeats Tito Santana in the finals of the tournament to become the IC champion.
Right, and he wins the IC. I don't know if you know this. He wins the IC title before the tournament is over. Like they had the other match. Then the next day, because I think it was over the course of 2 days, they did the tournament. So I think he won the title on the. I'm pretty sure about this. He won the title on the first night, and then on the second night, because they didn't, they weren't showing this live. Obviously. No.
Yeah. That
tournament was already over before.
Before it was even over.
Right.
Well, honestly, I remember watching the finals of this. I really thought Tito Santana at this point was going to be a two-time champion.
Yeah.
Nope, Mr. Perfect finally is going to shine. He becomes the first-time Intercontinental Champion. Belt looked really good on him.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, after becoming IC Champion, Perfect enlisted the services of Bobby the Brain Heenan as his Perfect manager. This is where the Heenan family was now taking off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame that a few months later, Rude is departing because now you got these two guys that could now really work together. They're under the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go. July 28th, 1990, Saturday night's main event number 27. Mr. Perfect successfully defended the title in what people say was the best match of the night and the best match between these two in a return bout with Tito Santana. This was better than the finals. Mm-hmm. And I remember this when we reviewed it. Those two stole the night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing match. Perfect was scheduled now to defend the title at SummerSlam against Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Their feud is far from over. to avenge his WrestleMania loss.
Yes.
However, and this was sad to hear, Beefcake suffering the major injuries due to a boating accident.
But it took him out for a while. That injury
Quite a
took him
few
out. He
years.
had that steel plate put in his face. He had bad luck because the year before, I think it was the year before, he was supposed to win, right? Versus Honky Tonk Man.
Yep.
He was up.
And they had to
They
pull him out of
replaced
SummerSlam
because he
'88.
got
Yeah,
injured. Because he got injured. Yeah. Oh, I guess 2 years before. Yeah.
possible two-time Intercontinental
All
champion.
right. Yeah. Yeah. It's bad luck.
Probably just the one because I think if he would have won in '88,
Right. They wouldn't have.
they wouldn't have considered him for '90.
Yeah.
Now, with there being no challenger, and he thinks he's just going to cruise, through a forfeit victory. August 11th, episode of Superstars, the Texas Tornado, who had just recently arrived in WWE, Kerry Von Erich,
Yep.
challenged Mr. Perfect for the title. A week later, Perfect accepted the challenge, and I thought this was cool, and I like this match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that this is how they did it, how they played it out. But then again, he was scheduled to lose it anyway, so. I mean, they just went with the different challenger.
They just went with Von Erich. The shame of it is that by the time Kerry got to WWF, he already had that foot.
The foot injury, yeah.
So he had it amputated, so he couldn't really work the same way he could have worked when he was younger. So the feud could have been much better, but it's just kind of
definitely. Well, at SummerSlam, August 27th, 1990, Perfect's title reign would come to an end as the Texas Tornado defeated him to become the new IC champion. Perfect received numerous rematches on the house show circuit and won most of the matches, but by countout against the Texas Tornado. I thought once Perfect got the title back from him, I thought they should have had that should have been aired instead of doing it the way they did it on the house show, because November 19th, 1990, Perfect would once again become the Intercontinental Champion, defeating the Texas Tornado for the belt. Ted DiBiase. This to me was corny. DiBiase was the special ring announcer for this match, for the bout, and sat ringside. While the ref was down, Tornado had the match won. DiBiase came in the ring, hits Tornado with the belt. DiBiase woke Perfect. Heenan wakes the referee. Perfect applies the Perfect Plex and won the match.
See ya.
The match would not air, though, until December 15th. So Tornado went to Survivor Series as the IC champion.
Yeah.
I'm holding a belt. It don't exist.
Well, this was pre-internet, so like
nobody would know.
Most people wouldn't know.
Unless you were there to see it, to tell people,
or you were reading maybe like certain newspaper
magazines,
articles
maybe
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So November 22nd, 1990, like I was just talking about, the Survivor Series, Perfect teamed with Demolition. My favorite tag team, but by this point they were bootleg. I mean, Axe looked like he was out the door.
Well, he had the physical problems with that shellfish allergy, and they were already pushing him out anyway. And
his hair, it wasn't slicked back. It didn't look right. I mean,
we talked about this
seconds. Yeah.
Once they got Legion of Doom, they just kind of they threw Demolition by the wayside.
Under the bus. Yeah. So they got set to face the Ultimate Warrior,
greatest team ever. This is the greatest Survivor
Texas Tornado, and the Legion of Doom. The Warriors, plain and simple, the Warriors.
Yep.
Yes, and what only thing that took away from it was the opening match. Only thing. They could have gone later on. He's WWF champion, and he's the opening.
But you start off the pay-per-view hot. Warriors coming back out later too at the end.
Yeah, it was grand finale. Yeah, which I've always said they should have continued. Now, during the match, Perfect eliminated the Texas Tornado, and the match came down to him and Warrior. Why? Because Demolition and Legion of Doom got themselves disqualified. Warrior eliminates Perfect once again. He's got his number, and moved on to the match of survival later on, the 5-on-3. Well, at least I was happy Tito Santana got in the match, and he eliminated the Warlord, so that was cool. Now, on November 23rd, 1990, and this was the next day because they advertised that during the match that Warrior would be facing DiBiase in a title match on main event number 4. Perfect defeated the Big Boss Man by countout.
Right, because he inherits the feud, right?
The whole Boss Man's mother. They should have honestly just got rid of that. Yeah,
stupid.
At that point, because technically when Rude left, now Heenan took over technically, and Mr. Perfect is he can't. And Barbarian against him, we've seen that, don't like it. So Perfect's the next choice, unfortunately. So the event was taped back on October 30th. They aired it right after Survivor Series. And this was that particular match between Perfect and Bossman was the best out of all the matches these two would have during Heenan's feud with Bossman. And that's not saying much for WrestleMania 7. Going on to 1991, as two-time Intercontinental Champion now, January 19th, Perfect was competed once again in the Royal Rumble match. Enters at number 23, lasts about 16 minutes, 14 seconds, eliminating only one, and that was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Perfect was eliminated by the British Bulldog. At least it wasn't Hogan. Over the next few months now, Perfect successfully defending that championship against Texas Tornado, Roddy Piper, Tito Santana, the British Bulldog, and even Jake the Snake Roberts on the house show circuit. So it was pretty good matches. Unfortunately, on March 24th, 1991, Perfect defended the Intercontinental Championship, but it was against the Big Boss Man. I did not like that. We've talked about that extensively. Perfect loses by disqualification. No. Hell no. Sorry, no. He wins that match.
Hey, Bossman he was over though as a babyface. He was
By this point, yes.
Yeah, so Perfect doesn't really lose anything by it. He didn't lose the title,
No, he lost by disqualification. Haku and the Barbarian came down and attacked Bossman. This got Andre the Giant to come to the aid of the Bossman. And I really liked that because when Bossman grabbed Andre and Andre whipped his head around, I was like, oh, damn. Bossman going to get sat on. Cool. But Andre at this point really couldn't do anything.
Yeah, he couldn't move, yeah.
And remember the supposed legendary rumor that at that WrestleMania, they wanted Andre versus The Undertaker. How true that is, I have no idea. Undertaker did not need to fight Andre at that point to get over. At that point, people were recognizing him. And Andre couldn't do it anyway.
Yeah, no.
I mean, he barely walked down to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? SummerSlam, he came down in crutches.
Yeah, it was sad.
They were trying to keep him in the program. It just wasn't working, unfortunately. Anyway, April 15th, 1991, Saturday night's main event, number 29. Perfect won a 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal. Don't get nothing for it.
No.
But the participants in that match included himself, Earthquake, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Haku, Hercules, Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Kato, Marty Jannetty, Paul Roma, Shawn Michaels, Tanaka the Barbarian, Big Boss Man, British Bulldog, Texas Tornado, the Warlord, and Tugboat. Try saying that all in one breath. Came down to Perfect and Valentine, and Perfect was victorious. And they didn't air this until the end of April, around April 27th. They should have given him at least something for that. You won the Battle Royal. Fight Trophy. The Ultimate Warrior. Fight somebody. I don't care who you fight. Fight fight Hogan again for the title. Champion versus champion. Just do something. Come on. Unfortunately, no. Now, on June 15th, episode of Superstars, and I remember this one, Bobby Heenan retired as manager as he became the broadcast journalist. There you go.
Well, yeah, because he was shifting. He didn't really want to do the manager stuff. It was like a lot of work. He had the neck problems. I mean,
Plus, I think around this time they were starting to phase managers out too, because they really weren't coming to the ring as much. Slick wasn't doing it. Yeah. I know Jimmy Hart was really the only other one besides, and you rarely saw Fuji.
Yeah, because he's briefly with Flair, and then Perfect takes that over.
Yeah. So he introduced the coach, John Tolos, as Perfect's new manager. I thought this was really cheesy.
Right. It was only for 2 seconds because what we didn't know was that Perfect was struggling through injuries. His back was really, really messed up. Probably from all those bumps that he would take like on the turnbuckles and the way
especially from like Warrior, how he would throw himself into it.
Yeah.
So right around this time, he started a feud with the British Bulldog. But he, like you said, suffered the severe back injury. They canceled the feud because Bulldog, Perfect's gonna, in order to sell the British Bulldog's strength, he'd have to do what he did with Warrior. He couldn't do it, not being slammed into the turnbuckle.
Yeah, I mean they weren't 100% sure about putting the title on Bulldog at that point. Later on, he gets it like a year later, right?
Yeah.
But he was like in the mix. But they ultimately choose Brett at that point.
Yeah, a lot of people had said, "Oh, there was the rumor that he was supposed to face Bulldog at SummerSlam." No,
Right,
he wasn't.
right.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, I know he was in the mix of there was consideration
Yeah.
for him to get the belt, but ultimately it went to Brett.
Without the feud, it made no sense. July 13th episode of Superstars. That's when Bret Hart was announced as the next challenger for the IC title at SummerSlam.
You know, Brett Solo, and this is
Yeah.
they already had a brief feud in '89 when they were trying Brett as a singles guy.
Hmm.
The matches were great, you know, so they knew they were going to get a great match with these two guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, now in the meantime, they held Perfect out of all house shows. They replaced him with Typhoon because he could. They wanted to get him to SummerSlam at least to face Bret Hart. On television, he wrestled only two opponents during that time, two Hammerneggers. Mike Daniels, which the match was a minute 14 seconds. Mark Thomas, 17 seconds. Both jobbers. And to avoid injury to his back further with the perfect flex, he would just throw his opponents out of the ring, and it was by countout. So he didn't have to do anything. Now, August 26, 1991 at SummerSlam, Mr. Perfect loses the Intercontinental title to Bret the Hitman Hart.
Right.
Probably a very underrated match.
That was a great match, and he was hurt.
Would have been even better if he wasn't hurt. But he still did pretty good.
He did the favor for Bret. He didn't want to relinquish it. He wanted to put Bret over because he was close friends with him. He respected him, so he ended up gutting through that match. You can see like his back was compromised. Even when he goes into sharpshooter, you could tell like his back is. So that's why you notice Bret doesn't really do a full like sharpshooter on him.
Yeah, it was like a half, or a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
The severity of Perfect's injury was actually a broken tailbone and bulged disc, forced him to now retire from the ring.
Right, temporarily. Yeah, because he obviously comes back, and we're gonna get into that in the next episode.
Yeah.
So
it'll be a few months before we see him back but we will see him back in 1991.
All right, well, that's our episode. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. See you guys soon.
Take care.